sweeties, how are you doing? Welcome to Cimnanya. If this is your first time of coming across this channel, sweetheart, kindly smash that subscribe button, turn your notification so you are notified each time I upload, and please give this video a thumb up. I appreciate you all so much, and I'm sending shout out to you all for the support. So this video is about a black woman actually who moved to China, and they were asking her experiences and all that. She said that the racism there is not as horrible as it is in US. Why? She said that sometimes there are racists just not because they want to be, but in United States you are going to say that this person does not like you, this person hates you, and there are places you are supposed to go, there are places you are not supposed to go as a black person. And in China, you are not being followed around because of your skin color to know if you are stealing and all that. She actually, tried to tell us the difference, how the racism and all that works. And then a man is talking about how being black does not stop you from being who you are, or making it, or being wealthy, or being a great person. And I am asking, how are you saying something you have not lived? How are you speaking for black people? Because you do not have black experience. How are you talking on black experiences? Let's get into this video.
Actually, a lot of black people you'll talk to say they prefer the racism in China over back in the States. They perceive it to be differently because here they see it more as ignorance, whereas in the States it's more like hate. Like people actually hate you and want to kill you or threaten you violently. But in China, it's more like, it's just different. It doesn't seem like they hate you. Especially when I speak Chinese, I can go almost anywhere and talk to people, at least in the places I've been so far. And people will kind of accept me, I guess. I don't know how else to explain that, but they won't be like, oh, get out of my store. They won't follow me around in the store and see if I'm trying to steal something. They won't, be rude to me. Now, that's not the case for all black people. Again, I'm the Obama black, I guess, that Chinese people are more comfortable with. So when you have kind of darker skinned black people, their experiences are much, much different than mine. Actually, a lot of black people you'll talk to say they prefer the racism in China over back in the States. They perceive it to be differently because here they see it more as ignorance, whereas in the States it's more like hate. Like people actually hate you and want to kill you or threaten you violently.
So I've heard this sentiment from a lot of black people before. Racism in America is very different from racism in other countries, especially Asian countries. And I've heard from people I know and family members that when they go to places like China, it's more of ignorance and curiosity because there's not a lot of black people there. And so people will come up to them and start feeling their hair or just take pictures of them. And even though there's still a lot of racism and prejudice against black people in China, it's not as bad as the United States. And I'm going to go over a couple of reasons why that could be. First of all, we're just going to use China as an overall example, but China doesn't have a deep history of, enslaving black people or, things and policies put in place to keep black people down. Because why would you make segregation laws against black people if there's no black people around, And of course, the U.S.'s deep history with the transatlantic slave trade, which, of course wasn't happening in China. And like I said earlier, there's a lot of prejudice and discrimination in China against people of color. And after COVID, a lot of Africans especially were saying that they were being denied service in places like McDonald's and being discriminated against in other ways. But in the US, if you go into the wrong town, a sundown town, you might lose your life. There's a very distinct hatred of black people that's in America. And honestly, it's a bit hard to put into words. You just kind of have to experience it yourself. Because I've been to countries in Europe like France, which have a lot of racism, but it's just not the same. The US has a special ring of hatred that comes along with it. And discrimination in America and prejudice also comes along with the threat of violence. And when I faced racism in countries across the world, even though I felt horrible, I didn't feel like my life was in danger. But there are so many stories in the US where you go to the wrong neighborhood or you encounter a police officer at the wrong time and you end up losing your life because of it. And that's what makes racism in America so scary. And lastly, I wanted to point out that racism and experiences of racism amongst black people are different. For example, some people in my life have said that I talk white. How do you think that shapes my interactions with the police? I have a friend from Colombia who learned English as a second language, and they have a very, very thick accent. And they've told me stories of them being on the line with customer service or with the bank and them not being taken seriously. And then when they put their daughter on their phone who doesn't have the same accent they do, all of a sudden their problems are solved. The way you act, dress, and sound in America very, very deeply impacts the way you are perceived and the way you are treated, especially if you are a person of color. So let's hear what she has to say at the end of her video.
Now, that's not the case for all black people. Again, I'm the Obama black, I guess, that Chinese people are more comfortable with. So when you have kind of darker skinned black people, their experiences are much, much different than mine.
And that's a very important detail. The darker you are in certain countries around the world, the worse you are perceived. I've heard from a lot of my friends and family that they're dark skinned and they'll be treated some way, and then their light skinned cousin will be treated a completely different way, and oftentimes better than they are. And it's not just in China. In places like India, lighter skin is often viewed as socially acceptable. And bleaching your skin or making it lighter has become more and more the norm. And I've also heard that Indian actors are expressing that the darker you are in the industry, the less likely you are to be in a movie or production. But skin lightening is also common in the United States. Well, I wouldn't really say common, but in a country where, we were led to believe that white was superior and black people, like black slaves, were inferior, this led to a lot of people believing that, they needed to lighten their skin in order to be beautiful, or in order to be seen as socially acceptable or desirable in society. Anti-blackness, racism, prejudice, and colorism are worldwide things. No matter where you go in the world as a black person, more often than not, you're going to experience some form of racism. And I think it's really important as a person of color to know how to deal with that. And especially know before you travel abroad that these things are going on. Because you don't want to spend all that time and money going to a foreign country and realize, oh my God, it's overflowing with racism, I hate it here. And there are also tons of resources you can use while traveling while black because it's often dangerous. Or there's certain countries you might not want to visit. This one I'm showing in the background is just a list of countries that you might want to look at before you go while being a black person. The US is number 8 on that list, so oh geez. But anyway, stay safe while traveling and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Looking at racism is for broke people. If you had a skill set that was worth something to somebody, you would be the richest fucker in here.
So his whole argument boils down to black people are so poor now because they're just lazy or they just didn't work hard enough. He's saying it has nothing to do with the massive wealth inequality between white and black Americans. It has nothing to do with redlining and keeping black people from getting loans and devaluing their property. And at the end of the video, he shows some black people that have taken his course or something and they've made money. But what about the rest of the millions of black people that live in America? This is the same argument they use against LeBron or rich black athletes or black people in general. They'll say, oh, look at all these rich black people. Oprah, LeBron, Michael Jordan. They're rich. Black people aren't oppressed. There's over 40 million black people in the United States. We can't all play basketball or be like Oprah or superstars. What we need is equality. But this next part was worse than the beginning.
A lot of young black men that follow me. There's no fucking way on earth I'm gonna let them believe that they have a lesser chance than anybody else if they just work their ass off.
I advise that you pull your tampon out and make some money.
You're not gonna let them believe they have a lesser chance than anybody? They do. It doesn't matter if they convince themselves that they don't. There are so many black people on TikTok and online and everywhere who have convinced themselves that racism isn't real against them and these policies that people keep putting into place to keep black people down don't affect them. But whether you believe it or not is irrelevant because there are systems and laws put in place to keep black people down. And I'm not going to go over those reasons because my entire page is like legit that. So if you want to know more about that, just scroll through my page. Or just search Artemis white supremacy and it'll probably be all there. But again, signing up for this guy's course is not going to make all of these things go away. Okay, it's not going to end oppression for black people. This argument is so bad and it has 10,000 likes. Like, what? Why? And I wanted to look at some of the comments under that video, but first I just want to let you guys know that there are tons of resources about these issues. The one behind me I think is a great one. It was by the Harvard Business Review that studied hiring discrimination against black Americans. And here's the summary if you wanted to pause and read. Most of these comments were just saying, I want to join the real world. Like, is this a bot account? Like, I'm telling you, it was like 90% of the comment section was just that statement. But I want to address this comment. How do I join? I'm tired of being broke at 16. You're 16, okay? You're not broke, okay? I promise you. When you see all these people online, like Andrew Tate or people you follow, flexing all these Lamborghinis and cars, doesn't mean you have to do that. Maybe one day you can when you're 30 or something, but right now you're 16. Don't fall into the alt-right pipeline's facade of you have to have all this money and material things in order to be fulfilled or attract women. You definitely don't, and definitely not at 16. So take a deep breath and relax. Racism really is for broke people. What does that even mean? This guy says, I mean, decent advice, but as a racist, I'll admit I won't hire a black guy. That's a real disadvantage for them. Lol, I don't know why people don't see that. Well, thank you, Bernardo, for that, but whether this is a troll or not, this stuff really happens in the real world. There have been tons and tons of studies done that if you have a black-sounding name, like for example Jamal, you are 50% less likely to get a call back than white-sounding names with comparable resumes. This comment is unfortunately the reality of living black in America. But I'm going to end the video here, but let me know if you want me to talk about any other videos posted by this account. Or if there are other topics you want me to talk about, then tag me in those as well. But anyway, I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.
So this is all I got from the video, and you can imagine having to choose, looking for a way to make racism kind of subtle and all that when you have been through it all. You see, she said she prefers the one in China because it might seem like ignorant, but the one in America is like they hate you and they want to unalive you and all that. Can you imagine picking? Oh my goodness, when you have been through it all and all that. Do I blame them? I do not blame them. At least there is no sundown town in China where you know that you might actually not make it alive and all that. And when you go to stores, you are sure that nobody's following you around and the rest of it. And then that boils down to, if you're like Obama complexion, that it's okay. I mean, you have a different experience than the person that is very, very dark. You see where this white supremacist of a thing is not making people want to lighten their skin because they feel like their skin color is not accepted. So they want to, oh my goodness, they want to look better for them, not even for yourself. Oh my goodness. You see, this is where colorism and all that comes in. A lot of people, I think it's now everywhere. Dark skin, they feel like being dark skin is not beautiful. They feel like you are not attractive when you are dark skinned. They feel like you are limited to so many things when you are dark skinned. How do I tell you that melanin is very expensive? That people are paying a whole lot to just be dark. How do I explain that? I think it's time we start loving ourselves, knowing that our skin color is beautiful. Really, our skin color is very beautiful. And that is something you really do need to maintain. And for those that want to be racist, that is their problem. So the man that is saying that being a dark skin or being black person does not make you it doesn't make a white person, it doesn't mean that a white person is going to be more successful than you. How is he telling black people that? How is he trying to tell experience that he has never lived or he has never experienced? Because saying that being black does not mean that you are not going to make it and all that. And you forget that this is the reality of a black person. A black person is not likely to get a job because you are black. Yes. Black people have to work double just to meet up with a palm-colored person. And he's saying things like this does not exist. How will it exist when he is not the one experiencing it, when he has not lived that life? I keep saying this. White people do not have any right to speak on black people's experience because they have not lived it. They have not experienced it. They should allow people that have experienced it talk on it. Because I have read stories, I have seen people just being black and you are applying for a job. You are not likely to get that job because of your name. They haven't even seen you. They haven't even spoken to you. To know your qualifications or to talk about your experiences. They have not. But just because you are black, you are not getting that job. This is something people keep lying to themselves about, that it's not happening when it is just all over. Thank you so much for the support. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.